The biggest retirement savings mistake after 40 isn't starting late, it's trying to catch up the wrong way.
And here's the strange part. Most people never even realize they're doing it because it doesn't look reckless, it looks responsible. It looks like you're finally taking action after years of putting this off. So today, I'm going to show you exactly what the wrong way looks like, because odds are you or someone you know is already doing it. And then I'm going to show you what actually works instead. No lecture here and definitely no shame, just the difference between motion and progress.
Let's first picture the moment. Nothing dramatic. It's just a Tuesday night. The kids are asleep, or maybe they're grown and out of the house now. You open an app, you look at a balance, and that quiet panic shows up. The one that whispers, "I waited too long and I'm screwed." That feeling is real. I'm not going to talk you out of feeling it. But what you do in the next 10 minutes after that feeling shows up is what actually determines whether the next 10 years help you or waste you. First, let's start with the wrong way, because I guarantee you felt the pull toward it at some point.
You're in your 40s, maybe your 50s. You finally sit down and do the math on your retirement savings, and the number staring back at you feels small next to the number you think you'll need. So your brain does what brains do under pressure. It goes looking for a shortcut.
And the shortcut usually shows up disguised as income. You start hunting for the highest yielding fund you can find, something paying out 8, 9, sometimes 10% a year. It feels like you found the cheat code. Get paid now, catch up fast. But here's the detail that gets skipped when you're staring at that yield number. A lot of those high payout funds generate that income by selling something called covered call options. Basically, they trade away the fund's ability to grow much higher in exchange for handing you a bigger check today. You get paid more right now, but you give up the upside that would have actually rebuilt your savings over the next 15 or 20 years. And it's not a scam. It's not even a bad tool for some people in some situations. But for someone in their 40s who needs their money to keep growing for another 1 to 2 decades, trading away that growth for a bigger check right now is catching up the wrong way. You're solving for how this month feels instead of solving for what your account actually looks like in 15 years. Now, the second version of catching up wrong looks different but comes from the same place. It's real estate income funds, the kind that pass real estate profits straight through as dividends. By law, these funds are required to pay out the vast majority of what they earn directly to investors, which is exactly why they look so attractive to someone trying to catch up in a hurry.
And to be fair, the yield isn't imaginary. These funds have historically paid out somewhere around 1 percentage point higher than safe government bonds, which is exactly why they catch the eye of someone trying to catch up fast. But real estate makes up a genuinely small slice of the overall market, somewhere around 2 to 3%, depending on conditions. When someone in catch-up mode starts loading a big chunk of their savings into that one slice because the payout looks good, they're not diversifying anymore. They're concentrating risk in the name of speed. And on top of that, those payouts usually get taxed at your regular income rate, not the lower rate you'd get from other kinds of investment income. So the government takes a bigger bite too. That's a general rule, not a personal tax read on your situation, so run your own numbers by a tax professional before you act on it. And no, none of this makes you foolish for trying it. It makes you human. When you feel behind, get paid more right now sounds like the responsible move. It's not. It's the anxious move wearing a responsible costume.
And look, I know it's not that simple for most people watching this. You might still be carrying a mortgage. Maybe there's a car loan or a kid's tuition bill or aging parents who need help too. Nobody in that situation has unlimited extra cash sitting around waiting to be invested perfectly. That's exactly why the wrong way is so tempting. It promises a bigger result from the same limited dollars. But the fix isn't finding a riskier shortcut. It's making sure the dollars you can set aside are actually working as hard as they can, instead of working hard for this month only. So what does catching up the right way actually look like? The simple truth is, it looks slower, and it certainly looks less exciting. And that's exactly why most people skip right past it.
The foundation stays with a broad, diversified fund that owns a little bit of the entire market, not one sector or one bet, and not one hot idea. That part doesn't change no matter what your age is. What can change, for people specifically saving for retirement after 40, is layering on a strategy built around companies with a long track record of raising what they pay shareholders every single year. Not the highest payout today, but a payout that keeps growing. That distinction matters more than almost anything else in this conversation. A fund built around companies that consistently raise their payout tends to hold up better when markets get rough, because those tend to be more stable, established businesses. You're not getting the flashiest number on the screen. You're getting a number that keeps climbing instead of one that's capped. And this isn't a small effect over time. One widely cited comparison looked at a hypothetical $10,000 investment in a broad market index fund back in the early 1990s. Left alone without reinvesting the payouts, it grew to a little over $100,000 3 decades later. Reinvest those payouts along the way instead, and that same $10,000 grew to more than $180,000. Same starting point, same fund. The only difference was what happened to the income it produced along the way. Some researchers estimate dividends have made up roughly a third of the stock market's total return going back to 1940.
And that gap didn't come from picking a lucky stock or timing the market perfectly. It came from letting ordinary income keep landing back into the account year after year, so each new payout was a little bigger than the one before it. That's really what time matters means in practice. It's not a countdown clock ticking against you. It's the number of times your money gets to do that loop. Earn something, reinvest it, earn a little more on top of that before you actually need to spend it. 15 years of that loop beats 2 years of a lucky high-yield bet almost every single time. And there's also a psychological reason a growing income approach works better for people catching up on retirement specifically. When you can see actual income landing, even if it starts small, you can start matching it against real bills. This portion covers the phone bill. This portion covers a car payment. It turns an abstract goal, like how much should my retirement savings be, into something you can measure month over month, which makes it a lot easier to stick with for the 10 years it actually takes to work.
And here's one more piece worth knowing about, even if it's not the first move for most people in their 40s. As you get closer to actually retiring, tools like bond or CD ladders, where you own a stack of bonds or certificates of deposit that mature one after another, year after year, can build a predictable bridge of income for the years before Social Security hits its highest payout at 70. It's not glamorous, it's not going to make anyone rich, but it's about as close to guaranteed as investing gets, and it protects you from having to sell other investments at a bad time just to cover a bill.
There's a cousin tool also worth knowing about too, usually saved for closer to actual retirement: an income annuity. You hand over a portion of your savings, and in exchange you get a paycheck that shows up for the rest of your life, no matter how long that turns out to be. The trade-off is real. That money isn't sitting there for emergencies anymore once you buy in. So it's typically used for a slice of a portfolio, not the whole thing, to cover the bills that absolutely have to get paid every month. It's not the first move for someone in their 40s, but knowing it exists changes how urgent everything else feels, because it means you're not required to build every dollar of guaranteed income yourself.
And if you've already tightened up your account priorities and your catch-up contributions, you probably already know the government lets people 50 and older set aside extra retirement savings every year above the normal limit. This is the layer that comes after that.
It's not a replacement for maxing out what you're allowed to contribute. It's what you do with the money once it's already working for you.
So here's the part I want you to actually sit with. Nothing here is fast. That's not a flaw in the plan. That's the whole point. The wrong way to catch up feels urgent and pays off small. The right way feels slow and boring and pays off big because it gives your money the one thing no shortcut can replace: time actually invested instead of time spent chasing.
Now, let's bring this back to where we started. You're not too late. But how you spend the next 10 years, whether you're chasing a bigger number this month or building one that compounds for the next 15 or 20 years, is going to matter more than the fact that you started at 45 instead of 25.
So, quick recap, because this one's worth remembering. High-yield funds that trade away growth for a bigger check today can quietly stall your progress, even while they feel like the responsible choice. Overloading on real estate income because the payout looks good concentrates risk instead of reducing it, and hands more of it to taxes on top of that. A broad market core with a dividend growth layer added on top tends to build more real retirement savings over the stretch of time you actually have left, not because it's exciting, but because it keeps compounding while the flashier options cap themselves. And later, closer to the actual finish line, tools like bond ladders and income annuities can bridge the gap without forcing you to sell something at exactly the wrong moment.
Chasing a high payout feels like catching up. Building something that grows actually is.
And if something in this video made you realize you've been on the wrong path, good. That's not a failure. That's information you can use starting today. You don't have to fix everything this afternoon. Just stop adding new money to the wrong strategy and start pointing it toward the one that actually compounds. And please subscribe if you want to keep thinking about this stuff differently. That's what we do here. Drop a comment and tell me which one surprised you more, the high-yield trap or the real estate one. And if someone you know has been chasing a big payout thinking it's the smart move, send them this. They need to hear it too.